Coast Magazine is brought to you by Sound Attraction.
Hi everyone and welcome to Coast Magazine. I'm your host, Tamara Kozlov. And I have to say, I love the Sunshine Coast. I really do. I mean, sometimes during the winter when it's raining, we forget just how magical and beautiful the Pacific Northwest is. But I have to say that the Atlantic Northeast is pretty fun and awesome too. Last month, I went to the Maritimes for the Eastlink East Coast Music Week, which is referred to over there as the ECMAs, to do a little hosting and reporting for Coast TV's easterly cousin, Eastlink TV, on the red carpet and during the festival. Well, since this GoPro is so light, I decided to take you all along for the ride with me. The really long cross-Canada ride that took this coaster from one coast to the other. Like all great adventures, it must start by leaving the rock you call home. The forest is budding with new life and all I really want to do is hike all day. But instead, I put on the warmest boots I had, gum boots of course, and jumped ship headed east. The only silver lining in the gray cloud of sadness I felt for leaving these beautiful mountains is that I was going to a music festival. Next stop, Vancouver International Airport, where I met up with Aisha Khan. She is to Delta Magazine what I am to Coast Magazine, and we got so caught up in talking about the East Coast Music Awards that we almost missed our plane. This is not an over-dramatization. We were the last two people on the plane. But we made it on the red eye. Next stop, the East Coast, where guess what? Spring is still winter. Actually, the day before we arrived, there was 53 centimeters of snowfall in Prince Edward Island, where, coincidentally, the East Coast Music Awards were being held. You're not on the coast anymore, Dorothy.
We arrived in Halifax. It's about 10 a.m. It's raining, and there's snow on the ground.
Lots of snow. Just how much snow, I was not prepared for. Nor for this Arctic Atlantic April air. It was cold. Poor Aisha only had a sweater. Look at the East Coast snow. The flowers were in full bloom on the West Coast. On the East Coast, the only thing in full bloom is the steam cloud my breath makes. Thanks a lot, East Coast. This is what April is supposed to be. Not this. But there's nothing to do but embrace it. At least we got a chance to rest in the car ride to PEI. Not really, actually. The landscape was so cool and different from the West Coast that we couldn't get any shut-eye. After crossing the Confederation Bridge, we finally got to Charlottetown, PEI, famous for its red earth. But obviously, not this week. This week, Charlottetown is to be famous for music. After many hours in boats, planes, and cars, we got to the Delta Hotel, which would be shortly transformed into the hub of Eastlink East Coast Music Week. The Delta Ballroom was packed with the guys and the gear that would produce the Gala Awards show. Just down the hall was the Eastlink TV studio and crew headquarters. There was a crew of like 30 people, which is way more than I'm used to at Coast TV. I mean, 3 tops. Here my first order of business was makeup. Usually, I'm too busy capturing the coast with a camera and editing all day long that by the time I make it on TV, I'm usually too rushed that I don't have time for makeup. And I found out it takes a lot of time to do makeup right. This is Savannah, makeup artist extraordinaire. She had all the perfect colors and brushes for every makeup occasion, and I was astounded at the level of attention to detail she was giving my face. All the other guys are having fun setting up the lights and cameras in the ballroom for the awards gala, which, did I mention, was all going to go on air live. I was getting all prettied up for a nightly show called Eastlink East Coast Music All Access, where I had to remember names of streets, bars, and bands on the opposite side of the world, that is Canada. It seemed like there was so much music and good times happening around me, and I was stuck in a chair. But I have to say, the results are worth it. I got put in gorgeous clothes from a cool local boutique, and they did cool things like straighten my curly hair, which felt glamorous. Look at us West Coast babes. I couldn't even recognize my own reflection. Okay, time to go to work. And our channel, Eastlink TV, was bringing in 2 West Coast ECMA rookies and mixing them with their local TV personalities like Matt Beardsley and this awesome radio goddess, Carrie Lynn McLeod of Charlottetown's Ocean 100. She really liked my GoPro, which I abandoned only to go on air live every night at 7. With awesome camera equipment and operators like Doug, who rocked the Steadicam every night for my live picks.
Don't forget, you can always come to the Delta Ballroom for some late night entertainment. And it's really exciting here because everyone's gearing up for tomorrow night's gala.
But the best part of my job was going to the venues to hear East Coast music. And I have to say, it blew my mind. The first thing I noticed was the crowd. They were a great crowd. I think you can tell a lot about a music scene by the crowd, and you could tell by this one that the music on the East Coast is awesome.
We're going to do a little crowd surfing here tonight. We're going to find out what makes East Coast music fans some of the best crowd in the country. Let me ask you something. What's your favorite part about East Coast Music Week?
Well, I would say the buzz about town. It's amazing to see so many people in the streets enjoying the different restaurants. Burger Love is on right now, but the music, like the East Coast does it better than I think anywhere in the world. We have it, it's bred in our blood and in our tradition.
Actually, someone explained to me that the reason East Coast musicians are so good at playing is because bands on cross-Canada tours hardly ever went past Quebec, and so they had to get good at music themselves. Like these guys. Do you see the people smiling? Really good music of any genre can do that to you. When you're around great music being played live, you can't help but be ecstatic. I mean, check out Alan Jeffries. Nominated for Folk Roots Recording of the Year, and he won, which made the members of the audience super happy, including some of the more Juno Award-winning ones, like David Miles.
Al plays with me every night I play, basically, now, right? I've been lucky enough to have him as a guitar player for a number of years. We both grew up in Fredericton. He's one of my closest friends. And as he said, like Kyle, who plays bass in the band, we've been prodding him, saying, like, listen, man, you're too gifted. Like, he is such a gifted singer and such a gifted guitar player. We said, you gotta make a record, And he did. So to see it win is awesome. It's really, really exciting.
More fun on the East Coast when Coast Magazine returns. Welcome back to Coast Magazine's super spectacular East Coast special. In the mornings, the TV crew worked on another show called Unplugged. Thing was, they had to be plugged in, come hail or high snowbank, in order to produce this.
Well, there may be weather, it's coming ahead, and this empty bottle causes this aching hell. It's all an illusion, 'cause you will not break those ties, and now the memory's fading.
Up to the face 3.
What many people never get to see is what goes on behind the scenes at the other end of the bunch of wires. And a lot of work goes into making this.
I'm losing patience with myself.
But you can't make an awesome music show without awesome musicians. And this soul-touching songstress, Irish Maiden, captured me so hard with her song Gypsy Dancer that it's hard not to get lost in it.
You took it from me when the morning was still young, and with the opening of eyes, you were gone. A sweet serenade.
Sometimes it's hard to remember that there are directors like Brian working behind the scenes, calling all the shots. And that's not just a figure of speech. He's actually calling all the shots.
Camera 3 and push in over her right shoulder. Start your zoom now, 1. on.
You know what? I want to go check out the setup in the truck.
The closer I get now, I'm no further ahead. It's still an illusion,
I've made $20.
'cause you just will not break those ties.
Oh my. This is way bigger than our mobile studio truck at Coast TV. Wait a minute. Who's he talking to? Oh my, there's more? What? You've got to be kidding me. Now that's an HD mobile studio. No wonder their productions look so good.
It was the touch of your hand. You'll be my final romancer.
Look at all this equipment. I am so jealous.
Push in, push
Sweet gypsy dancer.
There's got to be 24 screens, and I can't believe how many people can fit in here. What an awesome truck.
It's always been the touch of your hands. It'll always be the touch of your hands. You'll be my final romancer.
That's the one.
Right on, guys. Good stuff.
With all access and unplugged in the can, it was time to produce the red carpet and East Coast Music Awards Gala. So Aisha and I got dolled up one last time. Now there were thousands of people in the Delta Ballroom and East Coast music celebrities filing in on the red carpet.
I can let you go. 'Cause I push down the building wall, fight the war or take.
I think the entire production looked super rockin'. And the best thing about being part of this team was the backstage access and accosting East Coast musical acts like Kayo right before they got on stage.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, hello. Hey.
Hi to British Columbia.
Hi, Missy. Hey. Help. They have us hostage. Help. 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 Here we go. There we go.
The gala was a blast, and the party in the Delta Ballroom was the culmination of a long week of musical madness.
I don't think I could want you more. 'Cause I could fill a book or two, tell you everything.
Again, with all the fun happening inside, it's hard to remember that this is actually a live TV broadcast. So let's see what it looks like from the truck.
Comes out of here, master. There's like a closet in this little bit. There is a closet. 30 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Nice.
And we go.
Good job, everybody. That's awesome.
That's a wrap. With all the productions behind us, it was time to join the party. And the party was everywhere, even in the hall. Is it just me, or do Islanders really know how to party? East Coast Music Week, you rocked my West Coast socks off. But just because the festival's over doesn't mean this travelogue is. More East Coast fun after the break. Now that Eastlink East Coast Music Week was over, we could leave the Delta and get some much-needed Z's. Interrupted only by beautiful East Coast scenery.
It's coming ahead.
And with a couple of days off in Halifax, it was time for some sightseeing. First off, famous Peggy's Cove. A small rural community on the eastern shores of St. Margaret's Bay, which is famous for Peggy's Point Lighthouse, which was established in 1868. The economy at Peggy's Cove used to revolve around the fishery, but today, Peggy's Cove is primarily a tourist attraction, although its inhabitants still fish for lobster. And why wouldn't you, when you're at the doorstep of the Atlantic Ocean? And you obviously can't come to the Atlantic Ocean and not eat a lobster, unless you know a thing or two about them, like how long it takes for them to grow, or that they're monogamous and mate for life. It's so sad to eat them if you really think about it. I mean, look at their eyes. Good thing I was traveling with culinary enthusiast and shellfish reaper Aisha Khan, who so skillfully chose the East Coast lobsters for our final dinner.
It was the touch of your hands. You'll be my final romancer.
Well, they do look tasty, and any food you need to put on a bib for is bound to be delicious. Look at that rich lobster goodness. Yum. A perfect meal to end a wonderful trip. Bye-bye, East Coast of Canada.
We'll miss you.
Bye, everybody. This is us taking off in Halifax right now, as you can see.
There may be weather still coming ahead.
We had such a good time, didn't we?
Thank you so much for everything, you guys. We miss you already.
You treated us like the West Coast princesses that we are.
That's right. Let's go bitches in the house.
Just kidding. It was awesome.
It was the best time ever. You guys are just so talented and so amazing, and I'm gonna miss you so much, and I can't wait to see all of you again. Captain Commando signing off.
Isha Khan. And Tamar Cosmo. Sweet. Take us home, Irish Mythen. This song, Gypsy Dancer, totally became my theme song for the trip.
Yeah, a sweet dancer. It was the touch of your hand. You'll be my final romancer. A sweet serenade. Oh, sweet gypsy dancer. Oh, it was the touch of your hands. It's always been the touch of your hands. It'll always be the touch of your hands. You'll be my final romance.
What a cool song, right? Actually, what great music all over the East Coast. Well, my trip wasn't over just yet. Since the East Coast is so far away from the West Coast, I had a layover in Montreal, my hometown. And since I've been on the Sunshine Coast for 3 years now, there's only one thing I wanted to do while I was in Montreal. Eat!
Et $2?
Oui.
Merci beaucoup. Je peux prendre une tarte laquelle?
Oui, that's what we...
No Stop to Quebec is complete without having maple syrup on a stick.
Wow. Merci beaucoup.
Oh yeah, that's the taste of my childhood all right, on a stick. They make this heavenly street food by boiling maple syrup and reducing it down till it hardens on the spot when exposed to snow. And it's ridiculously tasty. But so is everything in Montreal, especially things you can't get on the Sunshine Coast, like pâté. But I'm at one of the best markets in town, the Atwater Market, where you can find all sorts of tasty treats, like croissants, which go amazingly well with cheeses. Just look at this selection. Maybe sausages are your thing. Look at all these fine oils and vinegars. I'm like a kid in a candy store here. I so took this place for granted when I was living within walking distance from here. I'd kill for a fromagerie on the Sunshine Coast. But most of all, I have to say, I miss the maple syrup, which is a great way to bookend any trip to Quebec. But maple syrup's not sticky enough to keep me on the East Coast, or on the Middle East, as I call the Montreal-Toronto area. Because there's nothing like spring in short sleeves on the West Coast. So happy to be out of the East Coast cold. But there's an even better surprise waiting for me at the airport. Aisha! And we had one final message for our new East Coast friends.
Hi, everybody! We're in beautiful BC. As you can see, it's green.
We're home, finally. But I miss you guys
There's
a lot.
mountains. Do you know what a mountain is? I don't think so.
They know what molehills are.
Yeah. Isn't it beautiful here?
Anyway, peace out. Gotta drive.
Not to rub it in or whatever, but come on. We have ocean and mountains here on the West Coast. Before I knew it, I was back in Horseshoe Bay, and then on the ferry, and then on the coast, the opposite coast, where the sun sets, in the west. Yeah, that's right, West Coast in the house. Listen, that was such a fun East Coast adventure. I have a huge place in my heart for the East Coast now. Thanks for coming along on the ride with me. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to play for you one last song from East Coast Music Unplugged that really got stuck in my head for the entire trip. It's a song called My Friend by PEI's Paper Lions. I hope you enjoy it. I'm your host, Tamara Kozlov, and thanks for watching.
We're pushing out the door. The winner isn't last. We rise up through the floor. You jump the hatch and then come crashing down. The best show off of all. You call out and your arm is Paul. I know you are my friend. If I never met you, I would be different. He makes a casting call while we gain 30 pounds. We decorate the walls, tell stories that we never tell again. The laughing camera shakes. It's funny how we never got the take. I know you are my friend, and if I never met you, I would be different. I know you are my friend. If I never met you, I would be different. If I never met you, I know you are my friend. I would be different. I know you are my friend. I would be. I know you are my friend. I would be different. I know you are my friend. I would be different.
Coast Magazine is brought to you by Sound Attraction.